Okay, welcome everybody. Appreciate y'all being here today. We got a good agenda for you guys. We're going to turn it over to Lee Worley with the apprenticeship department to give his update. We've got Wayne Cresap with the safety and health department. And then we'll run through Jason Corder, Mr. Tannehill, myself, Bart, and Mr. Sampson for our National Training Fund reports. And we'll have a Q&A and get everybody out of here within an hour. So with that being said, Lee, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, James. Just make sure, give me a thumbs up. Everybody hear me okay? Perfect. Right on. Welcome, everybody, and good afternoon or good morning, depending where you are at. Just a three bullet points I want to talk about. Last week, we sent a listserv message regarding the annual training program. It will be held third week in July, as always, in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The registration materials will be sent out probably around mid-March, so please be on the lookout for that. Through the listserv message, we try to do everything electronically now, trying to get away from snail mail. So if you do not check your listserv messages, please start doing so immediately. And if you're having trouble, please contact. Who do we contact for trouble, Jason? If people have trouble with logging on the listserv or getting their email address, is it you?
No, you got to email IT help desk, and then Brian Caskey will reach out to you.
If you're not getting your messages, we'll make it easy. Just contact the apprenticeship and training department, and we'll forward what you need. So we got to get more people on that. We got a lot of people doing great with it, but we still got a few coordinators that have been around quite a few years, let alone the brand new ones that are not checking the listserv messages. So again, we're trying to get away completely of snail mail, everything electronically. We got another exciting year in Ann Arbor coming up. Got one new course, a new PDC 11 course. It's going to be a pilot course, and we do not know if it's going to be a mandatory, course that we usually make people take. It's going to be called Leader Development for the Apprenticeship Coordinators. We're going to try that out. Mandolin Mole approached me last fall, and she thought this would be a great class to initiate. With the discussion with the participants the last 3 or 4 years, it's kind of morphed into a sort of a leader development course, which she had. So look for that new course, PDC 11. And then we're going to have a new one, Weld 16, Fundamentals of Abrasives and Grinding. It's going to be blending, grinding, and polishing steel. So that'll be half-a-day course offered twice a day, and that PDC 11 will just be offered once in the afternoon. So again, look out for the registration materials in mid-March. Secondly, the apprenticeship competition will be the first week in October. Chicago, Illinois, Local 63 will be the host local. Please, 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 coordinators, make sure you do what you can do to talk to whoever you need to, your business manager, your district council president, to get you to Chicago for the apprenticeship coordinator meeting. We only offer this once every 2 years. It's an important meeting with lots of good topics. Even if you do not have a participant in the competition, do what you can to get there. And if you're getting any pushback, please give me a holler. I'll see what kind of muscle I can pull to get you there, because we had great participation in 2022, but it still wasn't 100%. Do what you can to get there. And as far as the competition is going, Jason Corder and I, we've been talking a little bit about the skills and what we're going to maybe approach the National Trustees to maybe mix things up a little bit more as far as the column climb. I hear a lot of pros and cons about the column climb the last, basically 10 years. And for those of you who have been in Denver or previous competitions, we got some apprentices that can't get 10 feet up, let alone 20 or 35. And then basically they're so burnt out, they can't even get down. I hate to use the word embarrassing, but it is. I'm thinking about maybe taking that out of the overall contest and just make it a volunteer, maybe for cash prize. So looking for some comments, pro or con, either way, but that's sort of the way we're leaning. And then General President Dean, I'll brief him on that and see what he has to say in about a month or so. So if you have any comments, just let me know. And also talking with Brian Tannehill, most of you guys know regarding the rigging certification program, the most failed part of the practical test is hand signals, hand and voice signals. So we were thinking about including that in the competition. Still, a lot of our members, when they take that certification exam, they're using, I call it area practice, maybe not the exact signal that would be used universally, but more of a area of practice, and people are failing because of that. So we will somehow be incorporating the hand and voice signals in the apprenticeship competition. So write that one down. Second of all, we still have impact, paying for reimbursing members for the NCCCO rigor certification. Please, if, the ironworkers, we have our own ironworker certification, rigor and signal person, but Impact is still paying quite a bit of money on this, and we're trying to morph away from that unless it's absolutely required in your area. And I only think there's maybe 1 or 2 areas across the country where the NCCO is required. If you need it, if you need that rigor certification, contact us. And James, that's all I have right now. Unless you have nothing, I can introduce Wayne to the group. You good with that?
We had one question, Lee, and I'm not aware of it. Are there going to be any prerequisites for enrolling in that PDC 11 that you're aware of?
No.
Okay, no. Perfect. No, you're
first come, first served, just like any other course. So if you get the registration materials early, enroll as soon as possible. Okay, hey, so I've got the privilege of introducing our safety director. For those of you that don't know, Steve Rank, after 14 years as the executive director of apprenticeship and safety and health, executive director of safety and health, retired last week, and his assistant Wayne Cresap has taken over. And I tell you, I couldn't be more happy for Wayne. He was hired on as a district rep in 2019, I believe, and promoted to general organizer July of 2023, and then February 1st took over as director of safety and health. Wayne is a extremely smart individual. I'm the chairman of the ANSI subcommittee on rigging training, safety requirements for rigging qualifications and responsibilities, and Wayne is my designated liaison for that committee. And we've met numerous times over in 2023 with different members from the ANSI committee on this topic. And I tell you what, if it wasn't for Wayne, I don't think this committee would be pulling off what we think we're going to do, basically rewriting the safety requirements for rigging qualifications in the ANSI standard. So Wayne, I've told you this many times to you personally, but to the crowd here, thank you for making me look like an all-star as chairman of this committee, because we wouldn't be successful with this committee without your help. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Wayne for his comments and then entertain any questions. Go ahead.
Thank you, Lee. Can everyone hear me okay? Just thumbs up. Yep. Appreciate it. Wow. I thank you for that wonderful introduction, Lee. I really appreciate it, brother. This has been an honor to be able to serve the ironworkers in this capacity, and now as the director of safety and health. I have a little presentation I did put together, but before I get going and I lose that as I post this, let me ask, has everybody been, hopefully you can see me, everybody been dealing with these kind of things now on job sites or when your programs? Yep, we're getting the thumbs up on the Alpine style helmets, right? That's kind of one of the newest thing that's kind of hitting the market. And I'm just curious, are you running into these where you're starting to put them into your apprenticeship training programs? I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking, no nods, but a couple of, okay, no nods, a lot of shakes. All right. Well, I'm going to try to address a couple of things in that as I go through the presentation here this afternoon. So bear with me. And hopefully you can see my screen all right.
Looks good, Wayne.
Good deal. Instead of me trying to shift, we'll just run it from here. So as you know, as Lee said, the safety department currently is made up of myself, Christy in the United States, and then our good friend Jeff Norris up in Canada as our Canadian safety and training coordinator. And then his associate up there is Sandy Lastuca. So that's right now is your department. So I say this because when we talk about safety being a team effort, it truly is. And we need the leadership of everybody that's on this call and all that you do in developing new skilled iron workers, not just with the skills that they have to do the work, but also to do it safely. And so with that, I want to just kind of start off, and I hope that you take a couple of things into consideration as a safety moment. And I encourage you, as you do your programs, to also kick them off with a safety moment. May not be relevant, but I try to build some different things into it. So one of the ones I like to do, especially when I remember getting to talk to apprentices years ago, was, back then we talked about the rewind button, on a VHS or maybe on a DVD, hit and rewind to undo something after it happens. Now today, the question is, what is the shortcut to undo a mistake on the computer? Anybody know what that is? Control Z, right? You got Control C does copy, Control X cut, Control V paste, and Control Z is the undo. It's one of my favorite buttons on a computer, because whenever I screw something up, if I can hit Control Z, I can undo it and go back to where I was at least before. Unfortunately, in safety and health, that's not always the time when we have that. When something happens, we can't always undo it. So I like to say that it's part of the importance of doing it right the first time and taking the time to make sure that we actually do it right. So with that, I'm just going to talk a little bit about our friends OSHA here, a little bit on MSHA, a little bit on the offshore wind, and a little bit of the GWO stuff that we've been working on in collaboration with the safety or the training departments. And then also a little bit on the safety and health department. So just real quick, a little bit on OSHA, aside from any of the steel erection items that we've been working on with the agency over the years. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Obviously, there's been a lot of infrastructure spending that's been taking place here in the United States for all these different projects. A lot of our members are going to work all over the U.S. And but that also means now that OSHA is taking that information, especially from the Department of Transportation, and they're utilizing that for their construction targeting program. So if you have infrastructure work money that's going on, whether it's highways, bridges, whatever the case may be, just rest assured that OSHA will be out utilizing that as an inspection targeting method. And when they do that, they're going to be looking primarily at the Focus 4 Plus health. And that plus part of it is the part I wanted to point out. Obviously, everybody's aware of those falls struck by, caught in between, and electrical hazards, but the health hazards are the things that usually take place much longer after the fact, like dealing with silica, noise, dust, from welding fume and fumes from welding fume exposure. Those are all things that have a tendency to kind of have a longer latent period and can come back on us down the road. So the agency is going to be looking at a lot of those. Two standards right now that are currently over at the Office of Management and Budget is the employee walk-around representation. And that's if there's a, OSHA has a, right now they're proposing this that if there's an opportunity to have a subject matter expert or maybe even a union representative walk through a project or a job site with someone, even if it's a non-union facility, up to the discretion of the compliance officer to use that subject matter expert. And that's over at OMB. The other one is personal protective equipment fit. And that's making sure that the PPE actually fits the user. So I know that a lot of times that can be a challenge depending on the size of an individual and having the PPE fit them. But that is something that they're looking at putting out as a standard. Something else is the heat illness. They're still working on trying to get a heat standard together, but they also have an emphasis program on heat right now, that if there's any time that we're working, I know it's at this time of year, it doesn't maybe applicable in most of the U.S., but in at least in the northern U.S., but some states, if it's combined temperature and humidity of 80 degrees or more, then that opens up an employer for potential heat illness prevention program. So again, be aware. The last thing I have on here as far as our friends OSHA is concerned is the hard hats to helmets. We're starting to see more of the conversion. OSHA a few weeks ago put out what they called an informational bulletin on helmets and utilizing these helmets. So I started off this afternoon by sharing that because it's created a little bit of confusion in the industry. The OSHA put out a bulletin. It did not come out of the Directorate of Construction. It came out of the agency itself, talking about the benefits of helmets on the job. The thought process behind it is that if you have a helmet on, if somebody were to slip and fall, the first thing that goes is their hard hat. And if they have a helmet on with a chin strap, that helps keep it in place. So even if someone happens to fall on the same level, on their way down, if that helmet stays on, it helps protect them from a traumatic brain injury. That's the thought process behind this. Even though there are chin straps that are made for a fiber metal or a MSA skull guard, you can still get those. But that's kind of where this transition is starting to take place. So it's not an OSHA thing. The industry has started to adapt to some of these things, but OSHA has kind of jumped on board and put out this bulletin. At the same time they put that bulletin out, they also put out a news release saying that they're buying these helmets for their compliance officers. That does not mean that we in the industry have to do these unless it's required contractually in our contracts or it's required for a project. But a lot of people are interpreting that way, and that's not the case. So I wanted to share that with the group today because you might get questions on that as you go through when you're teaching any of your classes. So what they're doing is they got it for their compliance officers. The standard still reads the same. If anytime there's a danger from a blow from impact, falling object, or electrical shock, you have to be protected with a hard hat. Doesn't say which kind. So it just has to make sure you do the proper risk assessment and you protect for the hazards that you could potentially encounter. As far as MSHA training, this is another collaboration we've been doing with the training department, and this is something that we've been working with the building trades, trying to help get a new agreement together with the Mine Safety and Health Administration. We had agreements that goes back all the way back to the late 90s, early 2000s. And unfortunately, those agreements have expired, and we've been trying to work on getting some of those put back in place. So stay tuned. We're still working on that. We got a bit of a ways to go, but hopefully we'll get some more traction here in the near future. Offshore wind, I just wanted to share a couple. We had Local 5 was our pilot program to get them accredited with offshore wind. And the part of what we're doing with this is, if you're not familiar, it's a requirement that if you're going to do any type of this work, that you have to have this basic safety training. It's a 40-hour training course that requires first aid, manual handling, working at heights, fire safety, and last sea survival. And it's required every 24 months. So it's a constant. So part of the challenge is getting people in, and then the clock starts ticking on them having to get re-up for that certification to be able to go out and perform offshore wind work. So we've had a number of instructors from the training fund have started to participate and take it, and I'm sure they can share more information with you on that. And of course, I had to share some extra photos here. This is a sea survival module. Or part one is the working, or on the left part, left-hand side is the working at heights, and then on the center to the right is the sea survival module. So you can actually see some of the activities that are taking place, and that's what our members will be expected to do as they take this training, is wearing these kind of suits and going out and actually doing this type of scenario out in the water. So a little bit on the safety and health department. As far as our department is, one of the things that we continue to push is the deadly dozen shop and field hazards. Ironically, I was looking at some data, and it really doesn't change as much over the years as almost the same as OSHA's data. When you look at OSHA's top 10 for construction, they really don't change that much. They just might shift up and down their rating system, but it's kind of how it works, unfortunately, for us. So what I'm trying to do, and I share this, is as you see the stoplight that's on there. Do you know why that they put up a traffic light at an intersection? It's because there's usually a lot of collisions that are there. And the only way you can petition the government to get one is if you have a lot of data behind it that shows that you had a lot of collisions at that intersection. So I say that because one of my goals in working in the safety and health department is to start working with you as coordinators and instructors, as well as all of our locals, to start collecting more data on injuries. It's not for blame. I don't need names. I just need to know about the type of injury and get to some data about this, so that if we are looking at going after new regulations, trying to pursue maybe OSHA standards or things along those lines, we have some data in our back pocket to back it up. Otherwise, it's very hard to justify and show the government why we need something or why we're pursuing a standard if it's not there. Some other things that we do is we also have the Ironworker My Story. We were doing safety summits before the pandemic. Those kind of transitioned into lunch and learn. So hopefully now that we're hopefully getting some of this behind us, we can get back to going out and doing more safety summits at the regional levels. We've also been doing national and Canadian safety calls, so we'll stay tuned for that. As we start working on those, you'll see more announcements come forth on that. I think Steve just did one back on January the 24th as a national safety call on reinforcing work. We've also been working on some form and fall protection pilot programs, originally with 3M and most recently with Faltech. Development of a D-ring anchor. I've got a picture on that later on I'll share with you. And then also the Ironworker Safety Director certification course. You know, Lee mentioned in his opening comments about the NCCCO rigor certification. And one of the things that we also have then in the safety department is we have this safety director certification course. It's a 40-hour course. The next one's going to be at Local 63 in Chicago in June. And very similarly, you know, we put a lot of time and money into this course. And so we're trying to push back on some of the BCSP certifications so we can support more of our own. And so stay tuned on that. So other things, we also have an industrial hygiene and a PAPR pilot program, a positive air purifying respirator program that we've been working on. And Jeff Norris can share more information. He's done a little bit of work up in Canada on that with one of the locals and a contractor up there. And then the Ironworker Impact Safety and Health Roundtable meetings. We do 2 meetings a year with our roundtables, one in July in Ann Arbor. And then we also do another one in December in Washington, D.C. As far as other things with ours, again, I mentioned a collaborative approach. We've been trying to work with the training fund regarding things about MSHA, the offshore wind, as far as the accreditation, and then the distribution of this D-ring anchor. And then also collaborating with our impact regional directors. So we get a lot of traction with that. We also have to support our contractors in this as well. And then continuing to pursue different things with OSHA, state plan OSHA, and then also, as Lee mentioned, the NCA 10 Accredited Standards Committee. And I just listed 3 of them here. There's about 50 altogether, but the 3 that are most relevant to the ironworkers specifically is the NCA 10-9 for steel erection activities, A10-9 is for concrete and masonry, A10-13 is steel erection, and A10-42 is the one that Lee referenced about the rigging and signal person qualifications. And so that's what we've been working on, trying to get that turned around. A10-9 for those in the Pacific Northwest and out in California, that was what was done for reinforcing and post-tensioning requirements. That standard was incorporated by reference into Cal OSHA and Washington Labor and Industries was that particular standard. So this is the opportunity to get in on the ground level and start guiding these ANSI standards then that can also be then potentially used as a best practice and then as possible as an OSHA standard. I talked a little bit about the pilot programs earlier. We've been doing these for a number of years now. We've got our current partnership is with Faltech. You can see that they've put together some harnesses that have been developed in coordination with Local 433, SME, Danny's, and Herrick. And it's kind of interesting. The leg straps on those, you'll notice, are more horizontal versus going toward a more vertical application. And that's all by design based on feedback from ironworkers. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the ironworker anchor. That's the D-ring that I referenced earlier. And that's something that we're looking at trying to get out and use more on projects as long as an anchorage, that anchorage point can meet a 5,000-pound rating. This is an opportunity to be able to use this anchor, use a standard A325 bolt, and be able to use it as an anchorage point on a personal fall arrest system. The idea is, trying to work with our fabricators to pre-plan and design for safety and put pre-punch holes in columns at like 4 and 7 feet to be able to provide those opportunities to raise that anchorage point so we're not tying off at or below feet level, which then increases our fall distance. And so we've also been doing some of these programs. The most recent one was back in October in Buffalo at Local 6. And here's a few photos from that. And then also coming up is March 27th and 28th at Fontana, California. And James, what I did here is in this, I actually have the links in here. So if somebody clicks on the picture of this, it'll take them to the Ironworkers website where they can register and take the course. Again, then a shameless plug here again for the Ironworker Safety Director certification course coming up in June. This is something that I look back and I go, man, if I wish somebody would have taken and explained this to how this safety stuff works to me about 30 years ago. You know, we go through competent and qualified person. We talk about assembly and disassembly of cranes. We get into how to do a pre-task plan and a job safety analysis. We talk about industrial hygiene, how to handle OSHA inspections. And then the one that we spend some time on as well is managing recordable and reportable injuries and understanding how that aspect works and talking about how to handle that part. If you're a safety person, how do you calculate incident rates, like a total recordable incident rate and a DART rate? And we actually walk through all of that in this course. So I hope that you or some of your folks in your locals will have an opportunity to be able to take advantage of this. There's no cost to register. Unfortunately, the travel and everything is on the individual or on their employer if they can swing that. But this has also helped to extend the career of many of our iron workers who have had a number of years in the trade, maybe couldn't physically do the work anymore, but still had it up here, up top in the head, and were able to go through and become a site safety person and extend their career a number of years as a site safety professional. So it's been a great thing with it. We got this course accredited through the International Accreditation Service a couple of years ago. And so there's a lot of work that goes into the back end of that on the paperwork, as I'm sure you can imagine. Last couple items I had for you, I mentioned the industrial hygiene program. This is something that's available if you have an interest and you want to see what your kind of welding fume exposure is at your local, or how these positive air purifying respirators work. We'd be happy to work with you and explain how these things work and how they can help not only help protect people, but also maybe even help make them a little more productive, where they're not having to suck wind through a negative pressure half-face respirator all day long versus wearing something like this. And there's definitely some pros and cons with it, but it's something that, again, is a wave of the future that we're starting to see more and more employers making a transition to something like these PAPRs to help make the job a little safer and a little easier and not have those long-term health effects. You'll notice in that center photo there, the individual holding it has what? A nice beard. And so that's one of the cool things with this, is that you don't necessarily have to be clean shaven in order to wear one of these fully pressurized systems while you're doing your work. I mentioned our safety and health roundtables. July and December, July in Ann Arbor, when everybody's in the instructor training program, we have a safety and health roundtable meeting that week. And this year we're looking at partnering with the Boilermakers and the Boilermaker employers to do a joint meeting with them. And then in December in Washington, D.C., we have a lot of topics that come up, a lot of things that happen throughout the course of the year that provides an opportunity to share information and different updates. And with that, I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of the call today. And this is our contact information for the safety department. And if I can be of any assistance, don't hesitate to reach out and I'll do what I can to help. Thanks again.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate that. All right, Lee, do you have any comments in between?
No, other than I'll just say it again. You know, Wayne's an extremely smart man, and he's going to do a lot of good work for the ironworkers. So get his contact information back up there under somewhere in the notes down there. And Wayne, looking forward to working with you, and I'll see you next week in Orlando.
Thanks, Lee. Look forward to it.
All right. Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that. And if you guys have any information, we'll put the contacts to get a hold of Wayne. And then Wayne, if you want to send me that PowerPoint, maybe I can include it for folks to review as well as some of those links. Okay. So we are going to move forward. Oh, yeah. Sorry. A question?
Yeah, James, thanks. Just one quick question for Wayne. Wayne, Jason Willie, Local 21 in Omaha. Here recently, we've been awarded a couple different government projects, and one of the requirements on these jobs is to have this EM 385 competent person training. Have you noticed an uptick in this requirement across the country, or is this something that's kind of getting out into the forefront and something that we should be looking at moving forward?
Yeah, Jason, thanks. So the EM 385, what's unique about that is dictated by the United States Army Corps of Engineers. And if you're working on their projects, whether it's doing lagoons or doing other types of activities that has Corps of Engineer funding to it, you have to follow their requirements with the EM 385. And that also has some really specific fall protection requirements in that standard as well. And I'll also defer back to the training department because I believe that they've been doing some EM 385 training as well.
We have it. If Sampson want to take a second, Michael, talk about it.
Yeah, I was just pulling up the Regional Training Center calendar, Lee, on the website. So we do have the, we call it Ironworker Fall Protection Train the Trainer in Vegas coming up in March. I don't know the current status, how many students are enrolled, but I would encourage you to enroll students. We do a competent person for that, Jason.
Yep.
The IW Fall Protection Train the Trainer. Again, it's a 5-day program, March 18th through the 22nd. We do the EM 385 competent person, so the trainer's competent, and then they can go and do the worker, which is 8-hour. And there is an uptick in the, I just was on a phone call with somebody in Dallas, or not Dallas, but Texas area yesterday, in fact, about EM 385. And there's actually a second course we do, which is kind of a 40-hour course in conjunction with that, because it's called Construction Awareness. That's April 22nd through 26th. And as far as I know right now, if we're not the only trade, we're one of the few trades that do the EM 385 Construction Awareness Train the Trainer. So we do have 2 week-long courses outlined for the EM 385. And I guess I should, for all you coordinators on the line, the IW Fall Protection Train the Trainer is the fall protection EM 385. We've got about 4 things we cover. We cover our ironworker syllabus training curriculum. We touch a little bit on the bolting with the wind and the high torque, a little bit in that, and then the fall protection. And we incorporate an OSHA 3115 part of that for the competent person. So again, that's the Ironworker Fall Protection Train the Trainer coming up in Vegas. And then the EM 385 Construction Awareness Train the Trainer is April 22nd through the 26th. 2 different programs, both focused around the EM 385.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. And those are just the 2 most recent offerings. You guys can find those offered at regional training centers all year round. There's multiple offerings. So, all right. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Mike. Okay. If there's no more questions for Wayne, Safety Department, we're going to turn it over to Jason Corder to give us an update on what he's got going on.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being on. So we've had our first IIWCB, it's the Ironworkers International Welding Certification Board meeting a couple weeks back. Lee is the chairman of it, and Jeff is the secretary. We brought in people from contractors as well as AWS members to go on and start giving us direction on how we need to roll out the phase 2 and other parts of the WCP program. So I want to say a couple things. Come July, that WPQ1, I know I've been harping on it for about 1.5 years, if not 2. When that rolls out and we put that business rule on the new WCP program, any CWIs within our program that do not have the WPQ1, a valid CWI, or a valid welding certification will not be able to certify our members in the WCP program. That will be under the QA manual, the new one that will come out in July. So if you guys haven't had anybody into that course, make sure you guys are getting people in there so we can get everybody certified on that. Now, I already know there's going to be 1,000 questions on that, so I'll take those now. Nobody? Okay. Also on the new WCP site, the Spud Wrench program, you don't have to, but if you guys are renewing your membership's continuity through the website, it's a lot faster. You don't have to do it. I know some programs are really big and they have a trouble doing it, but if you can do it yourself at the local when you have time, it's a lot faster process. We can get them cards turned over and get mailed out to you. Discussing those with the new WCP phase 2 that I'm working on with IT department is digital continuity. So we're going to see how we can try to go into some kind of digital continuity for our memberships on an app, or maybe, and then also digital certification cards. So we can eventually get away from mailing cards because everybody's changing addresses. So we want to try to get it this way so it's available on the phone with a forward button so it can email a copy of the PDF of their certification card to the engineer or the inspector on the job, stuff like that. So make sure that when you're uploading members' certifications in there, make sure you're putting their valid phone number as well as an email address for them. Okay, moving on a little bit away from that. Click safety. I've got a few guys calling me asking about click safety certifications. And I worked with AIT today. I thought it was in there, but it wasn't. So it'll probably be at the end of this week. If a member takes a course through Click Safety, once they finish that course, you guys will have to go into the same website, the MSF site where Impact is logging their drug testing, and download that certification. You'll be able to go into the Cert Admin doc on the iWatch system and upload it that way as a third-party certification. And it should show up once you get that certification, upload the image and everything. When the member scans this QR code, it will show up as a third-party certification, but it should have that in there. I think that's really what I have to try to not run over on time. Does anybody have any other kind of questions for me? I see no hands, and I will turn it. Oh,
I have a question. Rob Barker, Local 44. So on the WCP, I renew the certifications on there, and with our apprentices, we don't issue them their certification cards until they turn out. We do have them on our app and everything. They can see them, but when we change the address to have the cards shipped to our union hall, it changes the address and also the ATS and the IWITS program.
the programs are talking to each other now.
Right.
But you shouldn't, in the WCP, there should be a box that you can click that will ask you a different shipping address. You don't change their address. You just click on that for a different shipping address, and that's where that card should go.
Right. And I did that. And now we're getting some of our apprentices their mail, like their Ironworker magazine and some other things. Their mail that comes out from our union hall gets shipped back to us because of their addresses and the IWITS.
Okay, I will check on that, Robert.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else for Quarter? All right. If you guys got any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to him on any of those topics. Thank you, Quarter, for the report. We're going to move over to Mr. Tannehill. Anything new for you, my friend?
Thanks, James. So in 2023, the total number of ICB rigging certifications stood at 27. So that's down from the previous year, and quite a bit fall off from the highest year, which was 21, where we had 52. So we decided to offer an additional training through the LMS. We brought in a company called ITI, who's a third-party company that produces rigging and signaling training. and they're putting together some a rigging and signaling program to assist members in passing the ICB rigging exam. We purchased 50 seats from them initially. And what I would like to see is that those 50 seats go to rank and file members. I don't have a problem with guys from the apprenticeship coming to regional training centers. They typically do well. Not that all of them pass, but the majority of them pass. It's when we get to the local level that rank and file members are not passing the exam or not taking the exam because they hear it's too hard or whatever. And I'm hoping that the training provided by ITI will assist those members in being better prepared for the exam. As it stands right now, the only people that will be allowed to enter those members into those courses is someone from the National Training Fund. So myself or the help desk for the LMS. And so when I get that figured out exactly when that comes online, which we're going to have a meeting tomorrow to finalize when it's going to come online. And I can get that out to everybody in a listserv message and how to sign up. I would like to see a better utilization for the rigging and signal person certification because it is a certification paid for by our members. And we've already paid for it once. We used money from Impact or money from our funding source to create the program. So our members have already paid for it. It'd be nice if we used it a little bit. Where those contractors are calling for NCCCO rigging certifications in contract documents or in state contract language, we need to know so that we can go to those cities, go to those states, call those contractors and let them know that we exist too, and that there's only 2 rigging certification programs in the country, ours and NCCCO's. The problem with it is I only have 186 members that have the certification. Most of those members don't work in the field. There's only about 70 that work in the field as a rigger. So we don't really have the numbers in any jurisdiction to combat the $600 fee that we have to pay for CCO certifications. So we created a certification program, costs a lot of money. And then we're going to ask Impact to pay for rigging certifications from a different third-party certification. If we could get to the table to talk to these people putting that language, restrictive language in contract documents, we can get them to buy our program too. And all we're asking for is NCCCO or equivalent. And we'll meet that all day, every day. And that gets our members out of having to pay for a rigging certification and to the tune of like $600 and gets us better recognized for the work that we do. There's 6 regional training center classes scheduled for 2024. I'd like to see all of those filled up. I know that there are some locals that have recertifications that are due. So you'll want to get signed up for one of those courses to take the recertification. If you have any questions about that, you can reach me at my email address, btannehill@iwintl.org. I'll put that in the chat. And that is all I've got. If anybody has any questions, I'll answer those. If not, I will move on to James.
I have a question.
Mark,
Yeah,
you've got your hand up.
Yeah, Mark Bono, local 424. If I understood that correctly, that's kind of like a training course to prep people for the certification test. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now that's not a train the trainer course, right? That's
It's
just
not.
a certification for the individual that takes a test for their personal records, right?
So are you talking about the training on the LMS?
No, well, no, I might have misunderstood you. I thought it was a course that you send people out to get trained and prep for the certification test. Is that how it works or no?
Yeah. So there's an LMS course that we'll sign members up for.
Okay.
They'll go on the LMS, they'll do the course at home or wherever. And then they will go back to the local union and take, to the local union that is an ICB test facility and take the written and practical exam at the local. And then they'll get the certification through the testing.
Okay. And now that's separate from Appr too. So if you have
Separate from
Appr,
Appr.
so if you have Appr instructors that need to update their cert because they did not put on a test within a year, that's another module that they can do, correct?
Yes.
On the LMS?
Yes. On the LMS,
Yeah.
there's a module. I need that member to send me an email saying that they need to take the Appr Proctor training, and you can do that on the LMS. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to James. Thanks, bud.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tannehill. I'll jump in real quick and give a couple updates. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to all of the local apprenticeships, JATC programs, all of our local union apprenticeship leadership who really picked up the ball and ran with it in 2023 as far as grant funding, pre-apprenticeship, really being active in local government and, working to market and promote their apprenticeship programs. I think my last tally, I just sent the numbers to Lee today, was something over $10 million captured in 2023 in grant funding, and that's pretty conservative. So, congratulations to all of you guys who really stepped up and did that work. If you're interested in getting into that grant space or pre-apprenticeship space or working in that capacity, please reach out to me. We can set up a grant consultation. I'll walk you through all the basics. We've got a ton of templates and stuff that we can provide for you guys to really make it easy for you. Pre-apprenticeship wise, we've talked about it before. The Ironworker Viper pre-apprenticeship that we're doing right now. That's moving forward. Lee and I worked pretty hard at the end of last year to reach out to all our vendors. So we got a lot of them folks on board. So when we do conduct these Ironworker Viper pre-apprenticeships at your local training center, we've got a huge amount of consumables, materials, and stuff that will be shipped out to you to help conduct those. Local 5 in DC just stepped up their talks with Viper and the National Training Fund on conducting a Viper cohort out there. We've got some going in the Pacific Northwest and California and vicinity we're talking about. We've got about 6 different areas where we're looking to conduct these Ironworker Viper 2-week pre-apprenticeships. So if you're looking at helping veterans get into your programs, if you look at bolstering your numbers, if you need some intake, you're in vicinity of military bases or establishments, it's hard to find a better apprentice than a veteran who's willing to work. So reach out to me if you got any questions there. Another thing that we're seeing a trend, we've got a couple JATC programs across the country working to develop pre-apprenticeships that run parallel with the last 2 years of the high school. So if you're interested in something like that, there is a lot of funding right now available to help take your apprenticeship program, embed it with the K through 12 system so that in their junior year, they can kind of enroll in your program, go through, a stretched out version of the apprenticeship. And then when they come to you after graduation, they can get credit for that time and having completed that program. Just an update. Bart will talk about this a little bit, I'm sure, but the new green energy curriculum is now live and available on the LMS. I'll let him get into some more specifics about that. We've talked a bunch about that, but that is ready to rock and roll for you guys. And the GWO, the offshore wind, we're kind of moving that to the West Coast. We're looking at getting a facility accredited over there to make sure that we're ready for that industry as it moves around the country. I talked to Michael Peterson and Jason Rafter over the last few weeks, and we're kind of nailing down a facility to get accredited. We spent a couple of weeks in DC going through training and kind of prepping up for that process. So that should be coming in the future. And that's all I got. If you guys got any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I can help you out. Okay. All right. Seeing none, I'm going to turn it over to Bart real quick for an update on LMS and all things in that world. And then we'll go to Mr. Sampson to close it out. Bart.
Thanks, James. Just a quick one from me. Just wanted to update everybody on where we're at with the Spanish materials on the LMS. I'll share my screen. Hopefully you can see it. You know, we committed ourselves to increasing our Spanish titles, and this is what's out there right now that's currently available. I just want to make sure you're aware of this. And the ones that are in bold are the ones that we posted up there just this past year. And we continue working on more titles. And this does not include the green energy stuff, but just wanted you to see that. James and company's been working on a new green energy series of titles for us. There's 4 of them. There's one that's solar energy. There's wind turbines. There's offshore wind turbines, and there's mass timber. And the reference manuals are all out there on the LMS now. And there's also assignment sheets and tests out there that we're kind of testing. And I don't know, James, if you want public access to that now, or if we're going to pilot it first, let me know. But that's all I've got for today. If you got any questions, let me know. Thanks, James. I'll pass it back to you.
All right, Bart, appreciate that. Any questions for Bart? All right. Yeah, we're excited about that green energy. That's going to be really cool. But if you're interested in kind of getting in there and seeing what that's about, we do have some coordinators and some staff kind of piloting that right now and working through it. So, all right, let's go to Mr. Sampson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Make mine short and sweet. Regional training centers encourage you to look at the calendar, ironworker.org. Go to the training tab, go down for instructors, and look for the regional training center calendar and register. Try to send it out about every month, or I'm due to send one out this month. But always try to send a registration where the current registrations are, which ones are going to go, which ones are needing more students. And we just had to cancel a scaffold train the trainer, unfortunately, and then literally I think 2 days after I canceled it, we had a couple people calling wanting to get in that class. And once we cancel it, it's kind of hard to reschedule it because we put it out there, it's canceled, and then people make plans for their trainers, and it's hard to get them, back. So I know we're coming up into spring, but look into June, May, June, start looking into those classes. We had to inquire about the EM385 classes, and we mentioned we got 2 of them coming up between now and June. If those are something you're interested in, please get your people in them ASAP. So we try to look 30 days out, and we usually don't make the call about 3 weeks prior, but we try to wait as long as we can to cancel classes. So please look ahead, starting into June, and even it's not even too early if you're wanting to register people for fall classes, just FYI. And we do have quite a few 502s, which is the refresh. We're doing those virtual 3 days because we did a lot of 500s during COVID where rank and file member got their 500. We're trying to do a bunch of the 502s to catch a bunch of those rank and file members that can't travel for the 500. They can do the 502 virtually, just FYI. So look at the training calendar for that too if you got any rank and file members that are wanting to update their 500. We do have a GWO breakout at Impact. So if you're not registered and you want more information for how to get your facility up and running with GWO, I highly encourage you to take the one at Impact. Like I said, it's coming up next week, so it's kind of get if you're not registered, or during registration when you get there, you can switch from one to the other if it's not filled yet. And with that, we did do recently did a scaffold train the trainer. We incorporated an OSHA component to that to kind of give our people our trainers that competent person. We just did it in Boston, and we got good feedback for the New England District Council. I think we had 12 or 13 people in that class. It was good feedback and actually helped them out with some offshore work they had. So just keep that in mind too, the scaffolding class. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to James.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Sampson on his report? Okay. All right. Seeing none, feel free to reach out to him if you think of something later. I don't know about you guys, but that was a lot of information. And I will make sure to edit this video down, post it up on the YouTube page. I will make sure it's all chaptered so you can get the content that you want. I do just want to give a quick shout out. I got a text in chat here. Mr. Mathis from Alabama just said that he got awarded $73,000 grant from the state of Alabama. It will be earmarked for instructor pay reimbursement, a couple small equipment items, and training center. And it will supply the apprentices with structural tools and harnesses. So congrats there, man. Badass, super cool. If you're interested on how he got that or what steps he needed to take or some of the best practices, please reach out to him and ask him. We've got a lot of programs across the country doing this great work. And again, I'm always available for these consultations if you guys need some help. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Lee to close it out.
Hey, thanks, guys. Hey, real quick, I've noticed the last couple of years, there's not a lot of apprenticeship coordinators that attend the Impact meeting. But if there's anybody on the call here that will be in Orlando next week at the meeting, usually Sunday night, there's a reception. Grab myself, Brian Tannehill, James Owens, Jason Corder, I think I said Sampson, and grab us, let's grab a beverage and just shoot the shit a little bit on any topic. So if you're going to be there, great. If not, be safe and continue the great training that you do. That's all I got, James. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you, Lee. Any comments, Q&A? Anybody got anything before we close it down? Feel free. All right. Everybody's looking good. I appreciate you all be here. You guys have a fantastic day. Be safe, and we'll see you at the next webinar.